So as I was thinking about free agency a little bit more, I remembered that the Magic re-signed Vucevic to a 4-year deal of $100 million, which I think they kind of had to do given the season he had and the fact that they are trying to be a good team here. They're not trying to bottom out anymore. But then that made me realize it makes Mo Bamba's situation very interesting because I feel like the Magic's plan was to be off of Vucevic either by the end of last season or maybe 1 or 2 years later, just to give Mo enough time to be good enough, because I think we all kind of realized that he was going to be a project because of his slim size and being a little limited offensively and all that stuff, right? But then Vucevic had his best season. He was an all-star and his shooting got a lot better, and the Magic won 42 games and made the playoffs. It was a whole thing, right? So they're trying to build on that, and now it makes me be like, well, where's Mo's career really going? I mean, his rookie season was overall a little disappointing. Some of that definitely because of health, but also he was not as good defensively as I guess you could have hoped for his rookie season. Even so, I think the signs are all there that he can be a great defender. But now I have to ask if he's going to really have the opportunity to do that, because between Vucevic, Aaron Gordon, and Jonathan Isaac, I don't really know how you get Mo Bamba in there for anything more than somewhere between, I guess, 16, 17, and maybe 23, 24 minutes a game if you really try hard enough. I mean, is there any way that Mo and Vucevic could play together? Offensively, perhaps. I mean, Mo has shown some signs as a shooter, and Vucevic was pretty alright from 3 this previous year, and his mid-range has been good for years. But defensively, how would that even work? I guess you would have to hope that Mo could defend power forwards, and I mean, maybe he could, but I feel like you'd be compromising a lot of the reason you drafted him at that point. Unless there's a crazy world where Vucevic can defend NBA power forwards. But back to Mo. Teams would still sag off of him like crazy on offense, so he'd have to make some pretty wild jumps there, which I don't think he's really ready to do. But even then, if you decided to go that route, how long could you really do it? Because you still have Gordon and Isaac, and both of those guys are meant to be power forwards, and one of them is probably going to get pushed to the 3 spot. So he can play with the other 2 mainstays of this team. So it's just this really awkward situation where I don't know who's the odd man out, but as of right now, it looks like it's Mo Bamba. Now, even with that being said, I don't think it's certain that Vucevic is really going to be this 20-plus point scoring, 3-point shooting center. He may have just had a really good year. Now, it's also possible that he is going to be this great source of offense moving forward. But the other thing is, Mo is still going to have opportunity. I mean, if he has 16 to 20 minutes a game, I guess, next season, what if he's just great defensively in all those minutes? I mean, if he can prove that he is really a generational defensive player, which is, of course, the hope for him, this athletic, tall guy with insane wingspan who can switch across a few positions and be a great rim protector, then I do think the Magic would trade Vucevic. And I think they kind of acknowledged that by giving him a descending contract. Now, even with that, in the 2022 season, he's going to be making $24 million a year, and you could argue if you're a center who's not that good defensively and you're pretty close to 30, that could still be an overpay. And as a result, would be tricky to trade, but you don't really know. If the Magic were determined enough to get off of him, if Mo just proved to be that good, then I guess they'd probably still be able to do it. The other thing to talk about with Vucevic, well, 2 things. One's a positive, one's a negative. Number 1, they're kind of desperate for his shooting. I mean, Gordon, his 3s have improved. Cool. Not super comfortable just saying, oh yeah, he's definitely going to be a reliable outside shooter from here on out. Isaac, he's my favorite player on this team, and his shooting has shown some pretty decent signs, but still, same thing. So if they went from a shooting center in Vucevic to Bamba, maybe he could do it, maybe he can't. That could be kind of devastating to this team's offense. They would also lose Vucevic's passing, which I think it's fair to call him one of the better playmaking centers in the league. Now, as for the negative other thing about Vucevic, he was bad against the Raptors. So it's possible that he proved his worth in that series, and it's maybe not as high as his regular season would suggest. So basically what I'm getting at is there's reasons to suggest Vucevic should be here for that whole contract. There's reasons to say otherwise. And the biggest factor to me still is Mo Bamba. Now, I'm also going to add one other thing that's not going to be very nice to Mo is, of course, the hope with him is that he can be a great defensive player, right? Well, Orlando was 8th in defense last year, according to Basketball Reference. And that was mainly in spite of Mo Bamba, who, when he was in the game, their on-off numbers, they were a disaster. Now, granted, a lot of that was offense, but some of it was still defense. But basically what I'm getting at is, if they can already be a pretty good defensive team without Mo Bamba, and his offense is going to be terrible, which it was effectively last season, then what's the point of having him on the team? I mean, at that point, you could use his, $5-6 million a year? And you could dedicate that to some three-point shooting wing. So, I mean, Mo's definitely going to have to be a lot better this upcoming season. Now, of course, again, he was hurt, missed about half the season, so there's a chance that the second half of his year was going to be very good. Don't really know. But even so, dude's just got to be better. They can help him out in ways, different lineups he plays with, stuff like that. Now, if he's not that good this year, I don't think it kills his NBA career or anything. Assuming that he keeps a good attitude and is hardworking, he's going to be on some team until he's in his mid-20s or so, because his potential is still so high. Teams are just going to make attempt after attempt to get it to work with him, The worst case scenario is he's basically Nerlens Noel, where, yeah, the tools are there, but the attitude sucks. And hopefully he just doesn't do that. So, there's Mo Bamba's situation for you. Something will end up happening, whether it's a trade or somebody gets drastically better or drastically worse, and roster spot opens, roster spot closes, whatever. Maybe Mo Bamba's a part of that, maybe he isn't.